Let's cut right to the chase, guys. We are looking at Commanders Park, and right now, the 2026 Washington Commanders are stepping into an absolute crucible. You know, the first few days of training camp, they always feel kind of light, right? Guys are running around in shorts, catching passes, and optimism is just completely off the charts. But that's an illusion. It's a mirage, because the real NFL doesn't actually begin until you hear the sound of pads cracking. In today's Explainer, we are diving deep into a franchise that is absolutely desperate to forge a new identity. We'll break down exactly why this specific training camp, this exact moment in time, is going to completely define the upcoming season for Washington, and more importantly, for their franchise quarterback, Jayden Daniels.
To really grasp where Washington is at this very second, we have to talk about the massive, glaring leadership void that just ripped open their locker room. Bobby Wagner and veteran Zach Ertz are gone. These guys were the tested pillars, the absolute bedrock that essentially held the fabric of this team together. They aren't walking through those doors anymore. And usually when a team loses that caliber of veteran presence, young players kind of just sit back and wait around for somebody else to step up and take charge. Not Jayden Daniels. With Wagner and Ertz out of the picture, Daniels is not sitting around waiting for permission, no way. Listen to this quote. "Now he's not here, now it's my team for sure." I mean, wow. He is boldly, unapologetically claiming this franchise as his own, looking his teammates in the eye and letting them know the buck stops with him.
Act 1. A franchise transformed, the new hierarchy.
Okay, let's dive into this timeline, because man, it tells an incredibly powerful story of resilience. Think back to year 1. Daniels literally took the league by storm. It was electric, a soaring Offensive Rookie of the Year campaign that had everybody talking. But then, year 2 hit like a ton of bricks. We're talking a brutal setback, a sophomore slump that was completely derailed by just a cascading wave of physical issues. He had a compromised knee, this super lingering hamstring issue that just wouldn't go away, and an elbow injury on top of it all. It was tough to watch. But here we are. Entering year 3, he is fully healthy, and honestly, he looks mentally sharpened by all that adversity. He is executing an unquestioned takeover of this team, and he's doing it with a real chip on his shoulder.
So how exactly did he learn to navigate all that chaos and adversity? Well, he had the perfect blueprint sitting right in front of him. Literally. During those first 2 years, Daniels practically shadowed Bobby Wagner. He deliberately moved his locker right next to the legendary linebacker. He'd sit dead center in the front row during team meetings, right beside his big brother. It was like a sponge absorbing water. He watched exactly how Wagner handled devastating losses, how obsessively he prepared his body, and most importantly, how he used his voice to motivate all the different personalities in that locker room. And now, Daniels is taking those priceless veteran lessons and he's deploying them to lead this 2026 squad by example. It's a true passing of the torch.
Act 2. Mastering the mental game, tactical command.
Now, if you know Jayden Daniels, you know he's naturally a pretty laid-back guy, right? He's not the dude out there screaming, throwing helmets on the sideline, causing a scene. Instead, his intense fire shows up in his obsessive, almost maniacal preparation. Head coach Dan Quinn has actually pointed out that Daniels is out there actively correcting his teammates' pre-snap alignments right at the line of scrimmage. And this leadership, it started way before camp. He organized private off-season workouts out in California, and he got double-digit attendance from his guys. That is huge. Alongside his veteran backup Marcus Mariota, he was hosting these super deep, intensive spring film sessions with the wide receivers. Star receiver Terry McLaurin has even come out publicly to praise Daniels, talking about how he's constantly texting him film clips and route adjustments at all hours. It's absolutely crucial for a QB, and it's exactly the kind of proactive initiative you want to see.
And look, all of this preparation perfectly coincides with the arrival of the new offensive coordinator, David Blau. Blau is bringing in this pep-heavy, incredibly complex system. The mechanics here are demanding, to say the least. It requires Daniels to take snaps directly from under center and execute these intricate play-action fakes. This means he has to literally turn his back entirely to the defense to fake the handoff, then lightning fast spin his head back around to throw. So what does this all mean? Why does this matter? Because he has to process the entire field and read shifting coverages in a fraction of a second the moment he turns around. Blau's system is specifically designed this way to protect Daniels. It prioritizes ultra-fast processing to prevent him from reverting to that dangerous, improvisational hero ball that ultimately led to all those injuries during his sophomore season.
Act 3. The physical gauntlet. The pads come on.
All right, we need to talk about this stark, almost terrifying contrast between the two phases of training camp. The first 3 unpadded days, they're highly scripted. The focus is purely on timing, making sure the communication of Blau's new system actually works on the grass. The quarterbacks are kept completely clean. It's basically two-hand touch. But then the pads come on. Suddenly, padded practice demands raw, violent power. You need trench anchor. You need guys finishing blocks and putting people in the dirt. And this brings up the massive question hovering over Commander's Park right now. Can Daniels' elite mental processing still operate smoothly when the pocket is legitimately, physically collapsing around him during full contact, real speed drills?
Act 4. Trenches under pressure. The pocket collapses.
Well, the plot thickens because Washington is stepping into this physical gauntlet heavily compromised right out of the gate. They are missing their projected starting center, Nick Allegretti, who is sidelined with a calf strain. And listen, the center is the absolute anchor of the offensive line. He's the primary communicator, the guy who snaps the ball, the guy who identifies defensive matchups before the play even starts. This is a huge, huge setback for a quarterback who is desperately trying to master a brand new system where he's taking snaps directly under center. With Allegretti out, backups Julian Good-Jones and rookie Matt Golban have essentially been thrown right into the fire. And you better believe the coaching staff is holding their collective breath over on the sideline, just waiting to see if this interior pocket is actually going to hold up.
And this brilliantly illustrates the incredibly high-stakes matchups we're seeing on the line of scrimmage. On the offensive side, you've got elite veteran Laramie Tunsil and young prospect Josh Connerly Jr., and they're operating in Blau's new zone-blocking scheme. This is a strategy that relies heavily on agile linemen moving as a cohesive unit to block specific areas rather than just matching up man-to-man. The problem? They're facing a downright vicious rotation of edge rushers, Odafe Owe, Kalavon Chasen, and Charles Omenihu. The spotlight right now is really burning hot on Connerly Jr. The kid has phenomenal mobility, sure, but with the pads on, the real undeniable test is whether he can actually hold his ground and anchor against the raw, brute power of these veteran edge rushers.
Now let's flip it over to the other side of the ball, because the defensive coaching staff has a singular, obsessive focus right now. It all comes down to one magic number: 4. The absolute crucial question for defensive coordinator Durante Jones is whether this defensive front can create consistent, game-wrecking pocket pressure by sending just their 4-down linemen. Think about it. If you have to manufacture pressure by sending extra guys in a blitz, what happens? You leave your secondary completely vulnerable on an island to one-on-one deep passes. But if they can get home and rattle the quarterback with just 4 guys, wow, that completely fundamentally elevates the ceiling of this entire Washington defense. It is a total game changer.
Speaking of getting to the quarterback, Odafe Owe is presenting an absolute nightmare of a challenge right now. I mean, he has been highly disruptive throughout even the unpadded practices. He's out there utilizing this freakish speed and crazy length to consistently just beat blocks and wreak havoc in the backfield. And what's really notable here, what you really need to take away from this, is that Washington is evaluating this ferocious pass rush while still missing 2 of their top edge players, Dorrance Armstrong and Dietrich Wise Jr. If Owe is out there producing this high of a disruption rate completely on his own, man, the offensive line has a massive amount of work to do before that defensive unit is even at full strength.
Act 5. Forging the new commanders. The secondary steps up.
The defensive backs are definitely not taking it easy either. They are challenging this newly installed offense at literally every single level. Roswell Douglas has been an absolute standout, dictating the tempo and snagging interceptions early in camp. You got Akello Witherspoon utilizing his massive length to just suffocate receivers on the outside. Inside, Mike Sanderstill and Amick Robertson are playing incredibly physical football. We're talking defeating blocks, aggressively flying up and inside run support despite Sanderstill's smaller frame, and keeping receivers completely away from the sidelines by maintaining that outside leverage. And now with padded practices fully underway, these defensive backs can legally initiate real, heavy contact right at the line of scrimmage. They are making the Washington receivers earn every single hard-fought yard.
Which brings this entire narrative full circle, right back to where we started, Jayden Daniels. This, right here, this environment, is the ultimate crucible. It's the final exam of his offseason evolution. He is out there trying to execute a highly complex, under-center system, taking snaps from backup centers, all while dealing with Odafe Owe breathing down his neck off the edge and trying to throw into aggressively, physically contested windows. Can he process this live, suffocating chaos? Can he stand tall and deliver the football accurately and on time? Or will the intense physical pressure force him right back into those dangerous, improvisational hero ball habits that derailed his sophomore year?
All the early mornings, the obsessive film study, the private California workouts, the constant late-night communication with Terry McLaurin, all of that brilliant, meticulous preparation has led to this exact moment. But you know as well as I do, the actual games will test that preparation against a live, unyielding pass rush. When the bright lights of Week 1 finally turn on, it is going to be absolutely fascinating to see if Jayden Daniels' mental mastery can truly survive the violent, physical chaos of the NFL trenches.
Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, guys. The upcoming season for Washington is poised to be an incredibly intense, cinematic story to follow, and we'll be here to break down every single angle. Before you go, make sure you subscribe to NFL Nexus, hit that like button, and comment your thoughts down below. We want to know, do you think Jayden Daniels has what it takes to master this new system, or will the offensive line struggles be his downfall? Let us hear your perspective in the comments. And hey, if you love these deep dives, please support the channel by becoming a channel member today. It helps us keep bringing you these cinematic explainers. Until next time, keep your eyes on the trenches.